Thank you, Marty. Thanks so much for joining us today on the Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hersh and myself. Dial us up on the World Wide Web at www.ntnm.org. We're very big on community policing, and we hope at this point we're supposed to have a new commander at this point, and we hope it is a community-friendly, terrific officer who's going to be beat officer friendly and beat facilitator friendly. I'm with it today. And we hope everything works out. You can check out all the community policing meetings in the neighborhood at camps24.org, which is Sonny Hersh's website, one of his websites. Sonny, of course, is the chairman of the District Advisory Committee of the 24th District. And that's for Rogers Park, West Rogers Park, and Edgewater. And at least a couple times a year, and maybe even more sometimes. It's always good to check in with our neighbor directly to the east, Alderman Joe Moore, 49th Ward. Alderman, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Good to be here.
First of all, thank you so much, and I appreciate your coming here. Okay. And you know what? I get your regular newsletters over email. I think it's terrific. I think it's a great service to your residents.
Well, thank you.
And I saw the old 400 Theater is about to reopen.
That's right. The theater located at Sheridan in Columbia is now open again under new ownership. For the last 15 years or so, it was called the Village North Theater, but before then, it was called the 400 Theater. It's now called the new 400 Theater, and we're very excited to have it open again in our neighborhood and bringing to Rogers Park first-run movies. It's fully renovated. I know those of you who may have gone into the movie theater in the last few years felt that was probably subpar, to say the least.
Yeah, you know what?
But it's been totally renovated. They improved the facade of the theater. They've restored the terracotta, and it's going to be a really nice showpiece for the Rogers Park community.
I misspent a considerable part of my youth at the old 400. Mm-hmm. Enjoyed it very much. As a matter of fact, I was at the Village North once. I saw that, and to tell you how long it's been, the movie I saw there was 7.
Okay.
Which is a while back. And basically, I felt I was sitting in somebody's large living room. There were like 11 rows and 9 seats to a row, something like that. There were less than 100 people there, period. And anyway, we should talk about business. I want to thank the Illinois State Crime Commission also very much, and I want you to stick around because later today we'll also be doing a segment with Zira Quadri from Zam's Hope. I'm with it today. In any event. So let's talk about what's going on in the 49th right now.
Well, I think you just mentioned the most exciting thing today, which was the movie theaters.
Which is pretty exciting, actually.
Yeah, no, it really is. We are moving ahead with our streetscape on Morse Avenue. Construction, the request for proposals, the solicit bids from contractors should be going out within the next few weeks, and we're hoping to begin by the end of the fall, at least begin the construction of the new streetscape that'll bring a much-needed facelift to Morse Avenue. The Morse Theater, that opened to critical acclaim last year, unfortunately they had a little bit of a dispute between the owners and managers, and so it closed for a while. But it will be open again, and the owners tell me that it'll be open by late summer, early fall there.
That's good to hear. I've heard a lot of really great things about the theater.
It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful theater. We've also been working very closely with the Park District to try to address the issue of parking along the lakefront. As you know, there was a proposal, unfortunately, by the Park District to charge for overnight parking at our parking lots at Loyola Park and Leon Park.
And I just want to say real quick, because you know what, I've had lots of friends over the years in Rogers Park that I'll go visit. Matter of fact, I had one friend that was on Columbia east of Sheridan, which is one of the reasons I know the 400 so well. Mm-hmm. I've had other friends. Parking is such a major problem there at night.
Incredible shortage of parking that we're trying our best to try to alleviate.
And being able to park in the parks over there.
That's right.
Even though it was a schlep, was still a real godsend.
Well, it was a safety valve. Yeah. And what the Park District was proposing was overnight parking. They were going to charge 25 cents an hour, which at first blush doesn't sound like a lot unless you do the math. And 25 cents an hour times 14 hours a night times 365 days a year works out to about $1,200 a year, which of course
does.
an enormous hardship, not just for folks on fixed income and for the seniors that live in the area, but for anybody. And what would have happened is people who were parking a lot would have ended up competing for scarce spaces on the streets. So we worked out an arrangement with the Park District to keep the parking lots for free at night. I think it was a small victory for motorists in the community who really, quite frankly, have been hit pretty hard by the new parking meter rates and this misbegotten parking lease.
I'm so grateful
parking
now not
meter
to have a
lease
car.
Yeah.
Not to mention the way the city's trying to get everybody with the new red light cameras and stuff. But I want to tell you, as a matter of fact, I sent you an email. I don't usually do that with people, congratulating you specifically on that, because you came up with what I consider to be an incredibly creative solution to the problem.
Well, we tried the best we could. We took a little bit of our money out of our aldermanic menu, which is discretionary money that each alderman has. I felt it was money well spent to help alleviate a very serious parking shortage in the neighborhood. This is particularly in light of what's been going on with parking throughout Chicago and the parking meter rates that are going up. I felt it was really important to provide my constituents with a little bit of relief from that and to try to mitigate some of the harmful effects of these attempts to do parking meters and increase the charges all throughout the city.
Yeah, no question. I mean, I really feel honestly that the city's just trying to get people right now. It's sort of like it's an antagonistic relationship.
There are very, very challenging times for the city, and the mayor is looking for every possible way of raising revenue. But you know what? You have to do a balance, and the idea that we can balance the budget on the back of working men and women is simply wrong. And we have to look at more creative ways of raising money, and of course more creative ways at cutting costs and cutting expenses. People need to know that our tax dollars are being wisely spent, and they need to know that that to the extent that we have to raise revenue, that it's done on a fair and equal basis and doesn't create undue hardships. And unfortunately, this parking meter lease,
boondoggle, I would call
lease
it.
has been an amazing boondoggle. It was implemented horribly, and you have the Inspector General of the city saying that the city probably shortchanged itself in terms of the long-term lease aspects of it. We've had city council hearings on that where we've uncovered a lot of interesting things about the way the parking meter lease was arranged, and the fact that you only had two companies competing for it, and the fact that one of the companies sort of came up with this idea. It really stinks from beginning to end.
Well, one thing I have found, and I have, of course you deal with this stuff all the time, I have very limited dealings with it, but if the city was actually honest in letting out contracts and bidding, they'd not only save a lot of money. I know, for instance, with the cap stuff, Sergeant Clark, who was our cap sergeant for a number of years, who was terrific. He got fed up, he retired, and I don't blame him. We wanted to get T-shirts made. We figured we'd do all this stuff. We'd like to get T-shirts that says 24th District Advisory Committee. I just as soon have that as the one that says boxing, the Illinois State Crime Commission gave me the other day. I don't want to walk around with boxing. It turned out that you could only go to one vendor. The prices were more than double what you'd pay anywhere. And somebody's making an awful lot of money. Actually, it's obvious what the point is. But it's just not right.
Well, just the other day, we had a hearing before the City Council Finance Committee. And one of the contracts that we were looking at, we asked the Budget Office for a list of all the contracts that the city gives out on a no-bid basis. And one of them was a contract for hauling deceased people. If there's someone who's a victim of a crime, or you find someone who's unfortunately passed away in their home, in the old days, it would be the police squad role that would transport the body to the morgue, the county morgue. Well, the city, in its infinite wisdom, decided to privatize that service and hire a private company to transport the dead bodies to the morgue under the pretense that it would save money. Well, you know how much the per body cost is for transporting bodies?
I'm curious.
$915 per body. We did some looking into what it costs other cities. Atlanta, Georgia, $45. St. Louis, $110 per body.
Yeah.
So, it's a $10,000 contract, and clearly something's amiss here. And at a time when we're asking people to go on, city employees to go on furloughs, we're laying off over 1,000 people. We're cutting back on services. What used to take 2 or 3 days to do, like replacing a burned out streetlight bulb, now takes 2 weeks. At the same time, we look at these kind of boondoggles, and you don't wonder why the public is cynical and the public is angry. It's absolutely essential that we do whatever we can to open up government, to make it more transparent, to shine a light on these no-bid contracts that are clearly going to favored people. The company that transports a dead body is based out of Dayton, Ohio. Why is a Dayton, Ohio company getting a no-bid contract?
Is it possible they might have given a political contribution to somebody?
20 times more than a similar cost in Atlanta, Georgia.
That's crazy. And since the city is micromanaged, there's no way people don't know about that.
Yeah. Well, people are rightly angry, and that's why I think it's time that long past time that the city council act like a true legislative body and act like what it's meant to be. It's supposed to be a check on the executive branch, a check on the mayor. And I've been nearly a lone voice all these years in demanding more accountability. And finally, a number of my colleagues are starting to see the light, and we're getting more and more of my aldermanic colleagues who are finally beginning to question the mayor and the administration on a lot of these issues.
Well, you know what? I see it among regular people, too, and people that always were Daley loyalists all of a sudden, since the parking meter thing, are singing a whole different tune right now.
Well, they're hearing from their constituents.
I'm not talking about Alderman. I'm talking about the people in the street.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, the constituents are the average person that used to love Mayor Daley. It's funny. John Cass had a column that I loved it. I love John Cass. It's like sometimes when I see some of these people in person, I feel like I'm walking into his column.
Yeah.
Like the people named Banks are an example, or when I saw John Cullerton the other day. But you know what? He talked about how the mayor he really wants is the Mayor Daley of 1989. And I knew Mayor Daley in the 80s, before he was mayor. And there was a lot to say about him. And boy, he sure changed.
Well, part of it is because the times he's got a tough job. There's no question about it.
Yeah, and he is very creative, and he's certainly brilliant.
He's also been in office, for 20 years now.
Yeah.
I think there might, and given the fact that the city council has, delegated so much of its power to the mayor, I think what always happens in a democracy. If you give someone too much power and too much authority, they start making mistakes. And the most important way to avoid that is to have accountability, to have transparency, and to have a lot of different people looking at the different proposals that the mayor proposes. That
would
hasn't
be nice
happened.
Because the idea is supposed to be that you're supposed to do the best job for the city of Chicago.
2 sets of eyes are always better than 1 set of eyes, and 10 sets of eyes are better than 2 sets of eyes. That's why I'm very pleased to see a number of my colleagues in the city council joining me in demanding an outside auditor come in and look at the Olympic bid proposal to make sure that the estimates that the Olympic Committee have given for the cost of the Olympics and the revenue that's going to be raised are real, that they're not just manufactured. And so just the other day at City Council meeting, majority of my colleagues, in fact, the vast majority of my colleagues, joined on a measure that I had been pushing for, calling for a independent entity. In this case, it would be the Civic Federation of Chicago, a well-respected, independent
they're good.
Government watchdog, to examine the Olympic contract to make sure that the taxpayers are not going to be left on the hook for, perhaps billions of dollars in cost overruns.
Which is definitely, it could happen. The economy, I don't see the economy coming back any year soon, frankly.
No, I think it's going to be a very, very slow recovery, and we're going to continue to have to do more with less, and we're going to have to continue to have a very transparent, open discussion about what we can and cannot do as city government, and make sure that every contract that's let is let in sunshine, in openness, and with no special favors given to anybody.
This is Illinois, but I'm really on your side on this one, I got to tell you.
Yep.
And I'm not even going to get into the Madigan and Cullerton and that whole crew. But I actually, when it comes to the Olympics, even let's say it doesn't cost the city a penny, and let's say the city actually winds up making a little bit of money on it. The fact is, you look at all the time and effort that's being put into that could be put into other things too. I mean, I'd like to see a blue recycling thing in the back of my house.
Well, and I would too. I think our communities, the Westridge community and Rogers Park
Have you gotten
community,
any yet? Or?
No, we haven't. We haven't. And the city, is missing the two communities that I think would be the most pro recycling and the most have the most participation, and yet they haven't done that yet.
Well,
now we have a new commissioner now, Department of Streets and Sanitation. A guy who's, I'm sure, very familiar.
Tom Byrne, right?
Tom Byrne.
I forgot about.
He's a good friend.
I love Tom Byrne.
He's a
been
good
on
friend
the show
of our.
many times.
He's a good friend of our communities, and I believe, I believe under his tenure that we're going to get those blue cart recycling cans up in our neighborhood, so that everybody who wants to recycle, and most people do, can do so.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, well, first of all, you know what? I want to, in my opinion, if I really put stuff in a blue bag and put it out there, is there any chance it's going to be recycled?
No.
I didn't figure.
No.
You know what we actually do?
The blue bag program, which never worked at all to begin with, has been eliminated.
I want to tell you, I'll show you after the shoot. I've got a blue bag sitting on top of the dryer. Okay, my brother's got a car and I don't. My brother's really good about recycling. I actually was recycling papers in the 70s, but that's my old Gene McCarthy days. But you know what we do? He drives up to Evanston, and he drops everything off there.
Well, there is a recycling drop-off place for our wards at the ward yard at Ravenswood and Schreiber. That's right behind the police station, 24th District Police Station, about a block north of Devon and about a block west of Clark Street.
Yeah.
And all that stuff is recycled. But you have to load up your car and you have to bring it there. And if you don't have a car, it makes it even more difficult.
I don't have a car. Oh, you know what? Speaking of, and I wanted to bring him up last time because he's somebody I know. Now, things might have changed in the last few months. You have your ward superintendent?
I have a ward superintendent. He is probably one of the best ward superintendents. In fact, I know he is one of the best ward superintendents in the city.
And he's a great guy.
His name is Greg Wagner.
Who actually lives in our ward, by the way.
He lives in your ward, but works in my ward. He's a self-starter. He is coming up with creative initiatives. Just one I talked about the other day. We're going to purchase him a leaf blower, so that on street cleaning days, that most building owners, most residents are good about picking up in front of their buildings and their homes, but a few aren't. And what he plans on doing is blowing all that material into the street on street cleaning day, so then the street sweeper can pick it up. It's a little thing, but it's something, an idea he came up with. It makes a
lot of sense.
And it really will improve the quality of life and the cleanliness of my ward. And that's the kind of initiative we need from our city employees.
I had a problem. The way I met him is I had a problem with there was a big storm fell part of a branch that was hanging out into the alley. It was being supported by the power line. So he was with the city forestry department or whatever it's called.
He was with forestry before he became my ward superintendent.
And he used his brain. He talked common sense. He was real. And he's just a great guy. And I am all for this guy. This guy, Greg, you're terrific. You really are. And I know he watches the show because he recognized me right away. Anyway, Mickey's hands are kind of ticking, and I got to leave room for Zara.
Oh, but absolutely. I don't want to take up any of her time.
No, absolutely. So anyway, I want to thank you very much, Alderman Joe Moore of the 49th Ward.
It's a pleasure.
And first of all, it's always a pleasure to have you on. And if people want to contact your office?
Well, the best way to contact my office is ward49.com. That's my website. And that's also where you can sign up to get my electronic newsletter, which is information and news that I give out several times a week to let people know what's going on in the neighborhood. That's ward49.com.
Which is terrific, and I'm a subscriber, and I want to thank very much my Sonny Hersh for everything. And stay tuned. Zara Quadri's coming up next.